Hello gainers, welcome to my channel, welcome to Fitter Philosophy. I'm Ralphie, your host, and my purpose here with this channel is simply to discuss the life experiences which tend to be fine-tuned and focused a little better by being open-minded and philosophical. And I've recently completed a short 3-part series on unidentified flying objects, also are now called officially unidentified aerial phenomenon. So there we go. But we'll still call them UFOs. But one of the aspects of being prepared to become aware of things less obvious is quite simply to use our senses and to trust our senses and not to trust automatically what we are told by others, particularly those who claim to be in authority. And a little bit of free thinking doesn't do anybody any harm, because exercising the mind is like exercising the body. The more you do it, the better you get at it, and the less you do it, the lazier you get. And unfortunately what happens over time is that life slips into some form of existence, albeit for many basically a comfortable one, but therein lies the trap. And one of the reasons for this is that not enough of us use our senses more objectively. So this is the first of a new 5-6-part series actually, entitled Using Our Senses More. And I'm starting with sight. And because we're so busy living life, we don't really notice that we're seeing less than we should, hearing less, tasting less, touching less. We simply use our senses passively for most of the time, and it's a very good idea to give ourselves a bit of a reboot and an upgrade in the old software by starting to use our senses more. And I'll give you a very good example of this. Many years ago, when I lived in Glasgow, I noticed in a shop window an advert saying that there was an exhibition, a temporary exhibition at one of the Glasgow galleries. It's free to get in, so no cost involved, by the classic English painter William Turner. So I decided that, being a big fan of William Turner, I really love his paintings, he's so far ahead of his time, that I would go along to see this exhibition. And it was a fantastic exhibition because it just didn't remove the viewer from what was in display. You could get right up close to the painting. You could see the detail, the brush strokes, the translucence, the iridescence, the layering of textures along with the paint. And then you could gradually draw back and you'd see the fuller picture. And it would be so easy in that situation to glance at the picture, the paintings for about 5 minutes and then move on. Oh, I've seen that, good, that's a trophy found. But there's certain images in our life that when we know about them before we see them, we anticipate them, and to really fully get what is being presented, you need to give it time, and you need to allow the eye to adjust to further detail to get deeper meaning. When you get deeper meaning, you get a bigger picture. So there was one painting at this exhibition in particular which is my favourite of all time, and there it was on display. Now, I went mid-afternoon during the week on a bright sunny day when I knew that other people would be outside, fewer people would be inclined to be indoors, and it wasn't the weekend, so I knew it was going to be quieter. I always like to view paintings when it's very quiet and I'm uninterrupted. And it was called Sea Monsters. It is called Sea Monsters. And for me, it's one of William Turner's finest paintings, because he's the great impressionist. He takes the natural elements of landscape and he brings them alive with a deeper meaning. And often people are just stop at the drama of usually the seascapes, the drama of the images, the panoramic view that you're getting, and they don't take the time to get deeper into it. And Sea Monster is a particularly interesting picture because it's all waves, violent, frothing, churning, foaming waves, until you look a little closer and then you see the eyes, the fish-like eyes of the monster, followed by the mouth of the monster, and it seems like some bloated fusion between a whale and a puggy dog. But then when you look even closer, you notice that the sea monster is in fact part of the waves themselves. The sea monster and the waves in which it resides are as one. And our first instinct is to pick out the monster from the waves, which is simply there as a little bit of dramatic backdrop. And it's not the case. And it's only spending the time and looking and looking and looking again that we pick out the detail which can fundamentally transform the meaning. Another very good example of doing this in the real world, because not many people choose to go to galleries to see such fine works of art, is when you're sitting in a coffee shop and you quietly observe the people around you. The more you observe them and the more detail you see, the more that you can separate their personalities, their circumstances, the way they choose to present themselves to the world. And once you've done this for a while, start to look in the mirror and we see more of how we choose to present ourselves to the world. So as much as we're using our sense of sight to pick out the detail in others, we can also reverse it and pick out the detail in ourselves. And in doing so, we know more about ourselves and can be more honest about it. This is valuable, very valuable, because nobody should know ourselves better than we know ourselves, and nobody should know ourselves more than ourselves. It is too easy to wander through life glancing about, and worst of all, getting glued to the transient monologue or polylogue. Is that a word? The polylogue of media and films and television. And we've got to stop and say, actually, what is the real quality of this in my life? And what you'll find is that 95% of it is rubbish. And the more that you absorb that, the more your own life becomes rubbish. I've had this many a time, because I don't have a television. I've not had to watch television for about 8 years. People say, but you'll miss all the news. I say, no, I don't, because I'm online and I select the news that I follow. So there is news and not pre-programmed indoctrination, bullshit and lies. But to be honest, many folk around us are happy with that, so who am I to judge? Let's stick to the positive. But in all these 8 years of never watching television, what have I missed? And to be honest, I've not missed anything. I find it much more interesting on the various, it wasn't just YouTube, it used to be YouTube, but there's more other video channels out there now. And some of it is, well, quite a bit of it's junk, but at least you have the option. With television, you have, 101 channels? But with internet, you've got 10,001 channels, 100,001 channels. So we get control over the media. And when we do it, we take control over what we take in through our senses, our sense of sight and our sense of sound. And the more we practice with it, the more we recalibrate, reprogram and zone in on what's essential. And it makes our lives more essential, our lives more meaningful, our lives richer. And you don't know this until you do it. You really don't. So many people I speak to about television, they tell me, well, it's rubbish, and then I have to remind them politely, well, if you're watching it, your life's rubbish. And they never deny it. They never deny it. They realise they've just got very lazy in their habits. We should challenge our laziness, challenge our habits, use our senses much, much more, practicing all the time, because you can't just make a quantum leap. It's called enlightenment, isn't it? We're not ready for that, most of us. But start with the sense of sight, look more, and you will see more. And when you see more, you will understand more of what's really in the world around us. And make sure you take the time to find a sunny day, as I have, and get yourself out and about. Breathe the fresh air, but look at the beauty, the drama, the poetry, the artistry, and the magnificence of the complexity of the planet on which we live. It's all around you. You cannot escape it. You will see beauty in the brutal manipulation by humans on the planet with the materials they're using. But equally you will find it out in the wilds, away from other people, where you can breathe a little deeper and enjoy the gravity of your own time. I'll leave you with a view, shall I? Good luck with your senses. Start with your sense of sight. I'll be back soon to talk about the sense of smell.